Bam, welcome again to yet another video where we're going to be talking about today. We're expanding on this thinking of the trust. And we did a series, or we are at the peak of doing a series where you are going to be understanding the ins and the outs of a trustee all the way from when you're going to be starting it, and hopefully it can live long after you. So my friends, today we are going to be talking about who can become a beneficiary. If you've watched any of our other videos, you would have seen that we've started this thing where we're talking to a family that are starting off, husband and wife, and they are creating their trust. The husband became the founder, and now the wife also became a trustee. And it is a requirement that they also start to have what is called an independent trustee. But to explain all of this, I decided let me reach out to one of our guest residents. You all know her. It is Poteka. She runs a firm. She's an attorney. And trusts are governed by a law. And hence I went to her to ask her so that she can be able to explain this for you and me. By the way, I'm also learning as I'm going along, even though I have my own trust. It's never too late to continue learning, and it's always good for us to learn all the time. So welcome. If this is going to be beneficiary to you, you have enjoyed it so far, maybe how about getting some of your family members and say, guys, let's just watch this. And you watch all of it, decide what you're wanting to do. I'm going to ask a side question to Pateka, something that just came into my head. But let me introduce her first. Pateka, welcome. How's it going?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm good. Thanks. And how are you?
Very well, thank you. Today we're going to be talking about who can you put in the trust. So we did mention that we've got around about 3 offices. And the first one was, we said, you've got the person who creates the trust, and that person is a founder.
Yes.
And we went on to define the fact that once you become a founder, you can also become a trustee. But as a trustee, your job is to manage the trust. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we spoke about being a good custodian. And I'm hoping, my friends, that you are learning so that you can become good and big custodians of all of this that you are being given to manage. Now we're talking about the beneficiaries. Particularly the pain that I've been having with the banks of late. The bank of late, they want to know, I'm doing an application for a loan, and I've got a trust. On top of my trust is my company. I mean, my company, on top of it is my trust. They want to know who is the director of the business, who's the shareholders, and from the shareholders, it's my trust. They want to know in the trust who the trustees are. And I've got 3 trustees. Mm-hmm. They want to have the proof of residence of the trustees. Mm. On top of that, they want to know who the beneficiaries are. My wife is a beneficiary. My 2 kids are beneficiaries. They want to have IDs of all of those people. And my kids don't have IDs. They got birth certificates. They want the birth certificates of those kids. And they want proof of residence of. So before they even consider me for, my protector is laughing at me, but it's frustrating. The documentation it has just gone bonkers. But today we're not talking about that. I'm just venting out, ne? I'm allowed to vent out a little bit. Pateka, let's talk about the beneficiaries. Who can become a beneficiary, and why would you actually just choose SPCA as to be your beneficiary on your trust? Because I've seen that.
No, I know,
Yeah.
because you can. There's no limits in terms of the act on the type of beneficiaries that you can choose.
None at all. Okay, wait. Okay, so we defined that we're talking to Tabo and his wife. So does it mean that as Tabo, I can say my mom can be a beneficiary?
And your cousin can be a beneficiary, or your half-brother can be a beneficiary.
And their kids?
If you wish so, yes.
And on my wife's side?
You can decide.
Okay, so wait.
You can decide who you want. There's no limit on the type of the beneficiaries. You can decide if you want to go on the wife side only, or
Right.
you go your side only, or you just want to make sure that you are creating the trust? Because remember, you can create a trust as a private trust, or you can create it as a charity trust. So it depends on what is it that you want to do with the trust that you are creating. So if you are
Right.
creating it, for example, let's say you are not creating it because you are building wealth
Yeah.
only for the benefit of a few, but
Yeah.
you are building wealth for a number of people to benefit. So therefore, you can choose 5 from their website, 5 from your side, or 5 from their church side. It's up to you.
I think let's speak about the categories of different beneficiaries, because I've seen and I know you're saying that there's no limit, but I just want us to expand our thinking a little
Sure.
bit around this.
Sure.
So I have seen beneficiaries where my nuclear family can become immediately my beneficiaries. So that's allowed. Tick, right?
Yes.
Because I'm doing this for my family.
Yes.
I've also seen people that then don't define their family members,
Yes.
but they also say their descendants.
Yes.
So I looked at that and I said to myself, who is your descendant? You kind of like saying anybody who's born of you.
True.
So my kids today that I know will have their own kids.
Yes.
Maybe by then I might have gone to see Jesus. And their kids, I've not met them, then they can still benefit from the trust. I think that's the power of the trust here.
Actually, it has a power, especially if you understand it. Because one, a trust does not exist where there are no beneficiaries.
Okay.
So there must be beneficiaries in place. Number two, those beneficiaries must be identified or identifiable.
Right.
So you don't want, like, okay, if you go and see Jesus,
Yeah.
I'm going to use a word, you do not want a shit show
Right.
once you are gone.
I didn't
Because-
think Pateka would use that word, but she did. Right.
Because you don't want a situation where they are not being identified. And now people are fighting because everyone wants to just get a piece. Let me just take it back. Remember, when we talk about trust, we're talking about estate planning.
Right.
Right? So go back to your will then. In terms of your will, if you say in terms of your will, I'm leaving this house to my children, and you've got 7 of them. So what is your expectation then? Then expectation is they need to own this property, all 7 of them.
Right.
But then what if the other 2 just decides, I don't want to own this house, I want a share? Now, I'm trying to explain the shit show part. That now there are 2 who do not want to reside there, or actually they're not even residing there, but they just do not want to own the property or co-own the property. So they want a share. So meaning buy me out, guys.
Correct.
Now, let's say the others that are left, so they don't have money to buy this other one out. You understand now where the shit show comes from?
It comes deep.
Exactly. Because identifying them, it makes it easier.
Right.
Or making them being identifiable, it makes it easier than to just have a pool in which now no one is not going to be able to decide who should benefit. Again, it requires a better understanding on the trustees, because remember on the previous video again, we mentioned that you can have either a vested trust or a discretionary trust.
Right.
Now, if you have a discretionary trust, then yeah, you can be fine, because the trustees, they have a discretion in choosing.
Right.
So meaning you can't just choose everyone there. You can pick from those people that are there if they are not being identifiable or being identified. Okay? So the most important thing is, if you choose your beneficiaries, please identify them, number 1. Number 2, you need to classify them.
Are you saying that identify them,
Mention them by names.
name and sender?
Yes.
ID number?
Not really, but
Yeah.
no, there is. No, let me not say not really. ID numbers, because there is a beneficiary form that
Sure.
you need to complete, whereby you would say it's TJ identity number, is a major person,
Yeah.
TJ's wife, and then TJ's kids that are having birth certificates. Then we list them there as beneficiaries. Then we need to make sure that they've got guardians. So those guardians, because if they have to benefit and they are not of ages yet, then the guardian will be there to receive the benefit on their behalf.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So identifying them is to state out the name as well as the ID of that
Wow.
person.
So I've seen. I'm just giving you what I've seen here, so that
Sure.
we can think of who can we put in as the trustee, as the beneficiaries. So we mentioned the identifiables. They are. We know who they are, and then I have seen people that give to the local church.
Yes.
So they say the trust, the beneficiary is my local church.
Yes.
I've seen the SPCA.
Yes.
I've seen a political party. Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen a political party.
Okay.
And this is what you're defining as the pool.
Yes.
And basically, your trust and your company can be making all this money, and you are literally fuel the cause that you wanted.
Yeah, but
And whether you are alive or whether you are gone, whatever that you've put in the trust deed will happen.
yes.
Amazing. This is powerful.
Yes.
Whilst we're talking about the beneficiaries, I want to state that I have also seen the benefit, or maybe let me ask a different question here, Pateka. Someone said to me the other day, TJ, what percentage can I give my siblings? I want them to be in my trust, but I want to give them percentages. And then I was like, oh Lord, how do I explain this? So I'm seeing that, you're the expert in this one. I'm going to throw it to you.
Okay.
I tried it my best, but it didn't sink.
No. You know what? When it comes to beneficiaries, okay,
Yeah.
firstly, we said you need to identify them, and then secondly, you need to classify them. I think let me firstly explain that part. You need to classify them. Do you want them to be income beneficiaries, or do you want them to be capital beneficiaries?
Oh, I like that.
Yes. So therefore, then coming to your question, it will depend on whether these people or this person that you want to think about giving him or her a percentage, is that person an income beneficiary or is that person a capital beneficiary?
Right.
So then again, it means if you have a vested trust, then it's different from if you are having a discretionary trust, because discretionary trust then allows you to decide. I can decide that your firstborn I'm going to give 10%, your secondborn I'm going to give 20%.
Yes, because I've given you the power. Yeah. I like that. I want us to speak about this capital and the income, because I think it's a new concept to us on the tribe here. So because you are defining your beneficiaries and you've got the income, the way I've explained it in the past to so many people is to say, think of it this way: if your grandmother is a beneficiary in your trust, how best can she benefit from your trust? She's in an elderly state. She basically needs someone to be looking after her. So the income is more important to her.
True.
Because it's going to help her in her
Yes.
elderly years.
That's correct.
So income, but how much? I don't know. You decide.
Yes.
Based on maybe on her needs. To layer that, I've also then seen in other trusts where people then say they do not give a specific amount, but they mention what the money is going to be used for.
Okay.
So they will define that the granny will be taken care at a frail care. They don't mention the frail care. They just say mention frail care.
Sure.
And the bills will be sent to the trust. So I was like, oh, that is so cool. So, frail care, it can be anywhere. It can be in Soweto, it can be in Sandton. The prices are going to range, right?
Yeah.
Or it can be in put at Chaba or anywhere else, right? So I was like, okay. Then I saw another trust that says 5,000 rand will be contributed towards Felcre.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa, hold on. Why would someone want to do that? And then I realized that they are being specific in how much money is going to be sent towards the Felcre.
Yes.
Which means that the Felcre may not be maybe 10 grand, but the trust is only going to give 5 grand.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So somebody else needs to come up with the difference.
With the difference,
Maybe their
true.
retirement or whatever it is.
Mm.
So my friends, I'm sure you can see here that this thing about beneficiary, it can go like so many ways. It depends on how you want to structure it, right? You can be very specific, or you can be, you can leave it in a vague manner. But I want to come back. This is the income that we're talking about. The other one is the capital benefit.
Yes.
Again, using the example of my relationships, my grandmother, but this time I'm not going to use my grandmother. I'm going to use my 2-year-old child,
Yes.
right? So, by the way, I don't have a 2-year child. Eh? I'm just saying for the purposes of learning. Because just now people were like, hey, 10 years got a 2-year child. We never saw Jenna being pregnant, right? So my 2-year-old child needs the income. Is that correct? For the survival,
Yes.
school fees,
Yes.
kindergarten, all of those things. But they're also going to start their lives in their 20s. So the capital is going to help them for businesses or whatever it's going to be. And for me, income and capital, that's how I kind of like differentiate it to help me process it in my head to say, who actually needs this going forward?
Yes.
Am I correct in my thinking?
I like when you say that it depends on how you structure it.
Right.
Because, for example, if you're having a discretionary trust, it's really your discretion to decide.
Right.
Because if, for example, you see your 2-year-old and your 2-year-old, you know, okay, I still have to pay school fees,
Right.
then you can make your 2-year-old an income beneficiaries by either paying to the school or keeping money somewhere for tertiary. So
Right.
it depends on how you want to do it. And also in terms of your grandmother, you can, you know what, he's not going to live for long. Let me rather just take care of her for this period until obviously he goes to Jesus. But the most important thing is you must just not limit yourself. One, in the sense of saying, unless again it depends, because again it depends on why you were creating a trust in the first place. So if I'm gonna say I'm gonna give you 5% and then I'll put it in my trust deed,
Yeah.
then it's gonna be difficult for me once I limit myself in terms of how I decide, in terms of who can get and how much. So then it's going to be difficult because I have to go back to the trustees in order for me to change that.
Right.
You see, so then I'm limiting myself. Whereas if you know that whoever you have listed or identified as your beneficiary, they can be either or. You can decide if, you know what, this year you're going to be my income beneficiary, but next year you're going to be my capital beneficiary.
Again, you can decide. But by the way, when we are saying you can decide, who are you? The trustees?
The trustees can decide.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
The trustees can decide, all of them jointly, who can benefit, when, and how much. So going to your percentage question, you can decide if you want to give them 10% this year and then next year give them 30%. But then again, the beauty about discretion is the decision entirely is on your side as the trustees in terms of how you would decide to benefit them.
So can beneficiaries become trustees at some point?
You know what? You can decide as well, because remember, again, it goes back to why we were creating this trust.
Yeah.
Because I had a client asking me that, you know what, Pateka, I wouldn't want my kids to be the trustees, because
Really?
I guess he was worried about the influence.
Yes.
Because remember, the reasoning behind the independent trustee is that you need someone who's going to be neutral in the decision making.
Yes.
So that there isn't much of an influence in terms of, now if you were going this way, then there are other people who are just going to come in and then they're going to drive that way. But again, the beneficiaries, they don't become automatic trustees. You as the trustees, if you wish to add, the trust deed is there to guide you in terms of whether you can add further trustees, and if those trustees will maybe be chosen from beneficiaries when they come of age. But again, you just have to be careful, because you know the child who was there benefiting as an income beneficiary, and now you want them to make a trustee. So you need to gauge the influence that he might have in the furthering of the founder's business.
Amazing stuff. My friends, the only reason why we're doing these videos, spending time to educating you, is that you can be better equipped. And when you've got the right information, you can think better, you can see the risk, you can look into your own situation. And before you just go out there in the braai and say, you know what, trusts are not sharp, at least you're informed.
Yes.
And now that you're informed, if setting up a trust is something that you want to do, you don't come to TJ. I don't know how to set it up. Yes, I've got two. But Pateka is the right person to do it for you. She's an attorney, she's qualified, she knows the ins and outs of it. I had a boo-boo at one point on my own trust. She was able to sort it out for me very quickly. On this channel, I am not here to say Pateka is the queen of trust. No. And I'm not saying that you should only go to Pateka. We are of the advocates of saying that this information, if it's been great to you, number one, just subscribe to the channel. But number two, find your own Pateka in your neighborhood. Okay? But if that Pateka is telling you things that we were not talking about here, at least you've been informed. You can come back and say, hey, that other person didn't know. And you can then make a trip in your good time. But don't worry, there's also things like Zoom and what. So you can also connect online. It can be done for you online. And you may be overseas right now. And you're working hard there. And you're trying to think, okay, but how best can I protect all of these things? Well, now is the time. So on the link, somewhere on the screen here, you'll be able to see a link. And on that link, if you click on it, it will take you directly to Pateka. She will be able to reach out back to you in her office. She's got a team of people that can be able to support you. And you can become one of the cool kids at the TJ tribe, and you can have your own trust. But remember, the trust does not make you money. Ne? You need to work, or the beneficiaries and everyone who's in it. And that's how we all get to make money. It is I, TJ. We will see you on the next video. Boom.